Hey everyone, Arthur Fantastic here, and welcome to First Day Biblical Discussion, episode 10. Yeah, yeah. Woo, 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 woo. We made it to 10. DS, the X, and we are happy to be here. We're happy to still be going, and thanking everybody that has been watching and liking our videos. Lately, the normal videos that I post have been getting more traction and more likes, and we are starting to see some more viewers here on the lives on the first day of the biblical week. Um, this fan, am I right? Okay, so we've got a couple of subjects today. We've got age gap relationships, which has been a hot topic for a long time, at least among feminists who, of course, hate age gap relationships. It is going to then transition into polygyny, which, of course, the Christian, modern, effeminate Christianity condemns, despite it being legal in the Bible, and we will discuss that. And God identifying as a polygynist, we'll get to that too. And we will finish off by tying it all together and discuss the continued feminization of the faith. Okay, that has been an ongoing problem that we've been highlighting here on First Day Biblical Discussion and the entire channel of Golden Ruffian and my extended social media reach of Arthur Fantastic. Speaking of which, if you want to follow me on any social media, it's going to be Arthur Fantastic. On IG, it's Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC Holler, which is the same name of my parallel channel, which I post MMA, karate combat, catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling in general. And I've done a review of a boxing movie, Creed 3, which was a total disaster. So that's up on there if you want to hear that. Not my review, that movie is a total disaster. And last plugs here behind the camera, as always, is my wife, my confidant, my number one counsel. And I love you, babe. I love you. You can follow her on social media. Thumbs up. You can talk to on the sound. Okay, thumbs up on sound. You can follow her on social media. Caramel the Sauce. She posts submissive wife content for women who are looking and seeking, rather, to be more submissive and find a husband. Um, Last but not least, you can obviously follow me on BitChute as well. Link below in the description. And we are starting a community. That's why we are trying to push the reach, which we seek to create a physical community, to start a physical community of believers, that is, Christians, so called, or whole Bible believers, Torah observant, etc. And we have a subscribe star below if you want to join that community. $5, just as a, like, okay, I'm serious, you know what I mean, gatekeeping type ish. I don't want any friggin' trolls there. I don't want any prying eyes and people being in bad faith there. If you're gonna be there, you at least have to pay if you're a troll, okay? And if you're a member, then we're building something together. We are, that money immediately is going to be going to the project of acquiring land, building what we have here on our friend's land. And uh, we actually been working on a large, like, not like um, anything crazy, but a community garden. We started with onions. We're moving up. We've got some sugar cane in our garden. We have another parallel garden, and there's goats on the land. It's really great. I've been talking about leaving Babylon, and yeah, God, help me get to where I am. And I'm so thankful for Jesse, and who is my friend and is the owner of the land that I'm staying on, and he's a great guy. And I think that God has definitely put him in my path. And I am still seriously saying to everyone, leave Babylon. things are getting crazy there, whether it's in the school system or the money system or the corporate work system or the banking system. The food supply and the food chain and the supply chain, all those things, which are the same words but end up meaning different terms, are all screwed up ever since Corona, and it continues to go downward as company after company goes bankrupt. So the whole point of starting a community, doing this, talking about anything relevant is to acknowledge reality, the truth, see what the truth is. Like, if we're going to make moral arguments, we have to see where morality is sourced and based and make an argument from there. And if we're believers, we realize it's the Bible, and then we realize the Bible is telling us to do something, and one of those things is to start a community, an ecclesia, a kahal, an assembly, a church. Okay? Now, the whole church of all believers, that's one church, that's Israel. But each individual community is also a church. But now it's become a building, or maybe it's become a denomination. And we can live in a diaspora and then come together one day a week to maybe listen to like a passage. No one reads the Bible, no one knows the Bible. I'm constantly arguing about the Bible, which is what we're about to get into. That's what I'm going to be discussing essentially. I mean, these topics, I discuss them not because everyone accepts them, but there is widespread error, people making erroneous claims, fallacious claims, and fallacious arguments. And so we have to realize where we derive our morality and ethics from and really decide, are we about that life? Are we about that fucking life? Or is it bullshit? And that is up for discussion among the many churches of the land, the modern Christianity, which I put in parentheses, rather quotation marks, parentheses. Anyway, going off the whole people are arguing about whatever, we first come to this fan is in my face. We come to the first topic of the day, which is age gap relationships. Before I begin, any other plugs? Ko-Fi, if you want to just throw a couple dollars in the description below. Once again, it's like buy me a coffee, which I also might get. It's another platform that is just for donating and raising funds. Making these videos and going live, I dedicate time and effort and study seriously the word to make sure that my arguments and thoughts and concepts are as scriptural as possible. I'm open to being wrong and proven wrong, and that's why I am where I am now, because I've been repeatedly proven wrong on certain things, and so I decided not to be wrong anymore and read the Bible seriously and take it seriously, and not continuously have people tell, "Oh, this is allegory and this changed," but where's the proof? I test everything, ladies and gentlemen, as it says in the word. Okay, so is it Thessalonians? Who's it? The Bereans? The Bereans? Anyway, test everything by the word. All scripture that includes the Old Testament, aka the law and prophets, as it's called by Jesus, Paul, and others in the Bible, as well as the Second Temple, Yahudim, aka Jews, and or the Tanakh, which is a acronym that discusses the same idea of the Torah, law, prophets, and the different writings, Ketuim, and Nevi'im. I forget what the other one is. It's just another way of saying law and prophets, and it is a phrase used by Hebrews, I guess in the Second Temple period. I know that the Jews use it. I don't know if all Hebrews called it the Tanakh, and they were still compiling it pretty far into history. So that all being said, because I don't want to get into a discussion about canon, because that will be another discussion that I will have another day. on this channel. So the first point is age gap relationships, right? Uh, was there anything I missed in my opening there, or was I going on too long on anything?
No, I don't think you were going on too long. I think it was necessary to say.
To set the table?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Um, there has been a lot of debate lately, especially on shows like Fresh and Fit, whatever podcast, um, and those of that ilk who are in that red pill, Pearl Davis, who have been in this manosphere, red pill, MGTOW sphere. Um, but this discussion has actually can go back as far as the early 2000s, maybe even the 90s. This discussion was starting to happen more often. But before pretty much the 90s, we see consistently a large age gap between the people that are dating. Very few people that date in history were generally the same age. People say women mature faster, men mature slower. Um, I say that women get hip to the idea that they need a person who can provide for them, has resources and the ability to provide way sooner. But modernity has absolutely crippled that ability to grow in the woman's head. Uh, Not necessarily because it's become so comfortable, though that adds to it, especially urbanized lifestyles where people have nothing but leisure, but end up not being having leisure because everything ends up enslaving them because that's Babylon, that is secular society. They have everybody has a God-shaped hole in their heart. I forget who said that. That's some philosopher, and they're seeking to fill it with something, and that ends up being their God. I think C.S. Lewis might have said that at one time, but I think he was also was it Spinoza? What are we talking about here? Uh, the constant infantilization of women and men. I mean, we are trying to give all people an elongated adolescence, so much so that people are like acting like children into their 30s sometimes, and that's and it's like it's one thing to have hobbies and like things that are childish, like fuck what people think, but it's another to completely like eschew, no, completely avoid um responsibility, accountability, building for the future, putting down the game sometimes at least. So women have it even easier than, because I'm coming from a man's point of view, women have it even easier in that way where there's no accountability held to women. Women can make bad decisions or whatever decision they want, okay? And there's no consequences. Uh, Case in point is this age gap difference discussion. The discussion that I was having, to give a little context here, was on a post of Craig Jones, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or as he calls it, Mexican ground karate practitioner. And he's like, you could call him the perennial number two. He's like always number two. He calls himself like forever number two or some shit like that, because he's always taking second place. But he's really, really good, top level. You know what I mean? Um, he posted a post about a rival. He's a troll. He's known for trolling. A little bit more context. And this guy who's about 30, world champion, ADCC champion. I guess he has some kind of like, I'm professional or some shit. He is dating an 18-year-old who just turned 19. Okay. Uh, and he was trying to imply something being wrong with that. Okay. That's legal. That's a legal age, both 18 and 19. And he's Brazilian. In some states here, it's 16. In some states here, California, it can be low as 12 because it's just a slap on the fucking wrist if you get caught. So, just by the way, the law is what is setting the morality of most people. Okay? The same people who are mad, okay, that this guy is dating a younger woman will not agree. Will be, and this, let me, and I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. They'll not agree because, oh, well, a woman who's a girl, of 18-year-olds are girls now, or kids, 18-year-olds are, that's a kid. They are arguing on the coming from the idea that an 18-year-old mind is not fully developed. Okay, so I agree. An 18-year-old woman's brain is not developed. So why do we let them vote? Why do we allow them to have tattoos? Why do we allow them to have abortions or transition into another gender that will affect them for the rest of their life? They're not fully developed. I mean, should they be even allowed to consent to sex? Should they not be able to have sex then? Oh, of course they can make their own, so they can make bad decisions, they can be wrong, they can make decisions that will affect them for the rest of their life. But dating an older person is wrong because of their mind not being developed. See, they're hypocritical. These feminists, they believe in autonomy. They believe in personal autonomy until it gives them the ick. Because that's ultimately what all these women are arguing from. And if you listen to their arguments, well, I mean, when he was 12, she wasn't even born. So when she was 12, she wasn't even born. I mean, how can you relate when you're 12 and she's not even born? What the fuck are you talking about? Relate. The woman needs to relate to the man because she is coming into the man's life. See, that's already presupposing that we're supposed to be two equal people coming into a relationship. We're coming from a biblical standpoint. A woman submits to the man. The man is head as Christ is head of the church. The woman submits in everything. Even if he's an unbeliever, 1 Peter 3:1, you must submit to it in order that you may convert him. Not with your words, but with your obedient actions as a wife. 1 Corinthians 7 says, you do not leave an unbeliever, and you must still submit to your husband. So when a woman comes into a man's life, it's not about, oh, her experiences. I don't give a fuck about a woman's experiences. I want to show her the world and experience it with her for the first time. Yeah, I might experience pieces of it, but I would like to be there when she says it for the first time. But that's how you make memories. That's how you make a bond. You will always have that bond. And that includes trauma bonds. You go through trauma. You go through ups and downs. You go through travesties and you go through ups. You go through successes and making dreams come true. And that's a part of life. That's a part of life. But then that becomes the next argument. Oh, well, older men date younger women because they're more manipulative. Like they can manipulate them. Oh, you mean because they're more coachable? Because they haven't fucked a whole bunch of dudes and gotten away with a whole bunch of bad behavior that they've been allowed by other people and trained by other people to do. Is that what you mean? Oh, they're more manipulated. You mean grateful? You mean like how you were dating the first date guy you dated and you were like enamored with him? And how that has been lost to you in your subsequent relationships? Isn't that the opposite of what we want for young people? Our generation, like, we didn't want people to be broken. We didn't want to be fucking Rachel and Ross. Okay, breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, both sleeping with different people, getting back together, watching them fucking sleep with you. That's being cucked. And why is it that they're always making fun of Christianity on Friends, like every other episode? Why is that? Why is it that they're constantly condemning the traditional conservative Christian values? That's because all of what we have in the entertainment and media is a constant subversion of what we believe. And then it manifests in our women, who are the most pliable socially speaking, and then we wonder why things are changing the way that they are. You go back to the previous generations, you see 16-year-olds getting married, you see fucking 15-year-olds getting married, and they're getting married to older men. You're seeing a lot of 17 and 18-year-olds getting married. And guess what? Their marriages lasted longer than the current average of the current society. The average is like 5, right? For like the for marriages within the last couple decades, it's like 5 years, and then they divorce. Most marriages aren't making it past the 8-year mark. It's just like small businesses. Most businesses don't make it. People don't realize that. That being said, the issue here is, what is morally wrong with a man dating a younger woman? You can't come up with one other than it makes you personally feel icky. But if that man and that is in love with that woman and that woman is in love with that man, what is immoral about it? You live in the West. You can make any fucking choice you want. I don't fucking know. Well, I was really different from when I was 18 to 21. Okay, good for you. What the fuck is that having to do with condemning other people's relationship you don't fucking know a single thing about, which is completely within the legal bounds of the law, okay? And completely within reasonable years, too. He's not fucking 70. He's just turned 30. He was just in his 20s. She's about to be in her 20s. How fucking unrelatable could they possibly be? Oh, well, you didn't watch this show when I was younger, and you didn't see this. Oh, we're going back to the media again? We're going to go back to the fucking media again? On what they fucking want? Well, we can watch that together now, can't we? We can all fucking media is now available online, pirated, non-pirated, shared, community shared, on a streaming service, or fucking free because the copyright has been or trademark has been run up, and you can just post it on YouTube or BitChute, who don't give a fuck. So there's a lot of shit on there. Oh, we can't relate now. You don't understand the references I make. A boom boom, I got a boom boom and a zoom zoom. Like, I guess we can't relate now. I guess we can't relate because I do the sprinkler head. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck? All you have to do is do that dance one time and explain, this is the kind of dancing we did when we were younger. Your relationship don't understand it. You guys do this. Or whatever the dance is. What was that? You know what I mean? Whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean? You know, and you know what? I'll do those dances too. You teach me your new dances. Why the fuck is the journey of a relationship, which are two people trying to get to know one another and serve one another? Because the man serves too. He may be authority, but it's his responsibility to die if necessary. So of course he gets authority. Without authority, responsibility without authority is slavery, and that's what modern marriage is. But we've discussed that before. So when we see a relationship that's about learning one another and serving one another, why is it necessary that they can relate on everything that they've ever? Oh, wait, I can't relate, but I guess I'll learn and commit to this relationship and commit to the idea of learning more about another person, because it's not just about me. And maybe they're wrong, and I'll do my best to convince them. Okay? But ultimately, it's the man that leads, and you have to submit to him. Okay? Not wrong as in morally, like, oh, I'm gonna tell you to fucking murder people and eat their bodies. But I mean wrong as in, well, you think one thing and he thinks another thing, and I guess he gets to fucking make the final decision, doesn't he? But that's not modern relationships. And that's why the underlying issue of age gap is like, well, how is she going to fight her husband if she's not the same age? She hasn't built up her ability to contradict and fight her husband yet. So she can be easily manipulated. Oh, so she's more likely to stay committed and actually want to be in the relationship and do what's necessary, as opposed to fight and argue with everything and be a contentious woman. Christian that you're not supposed to be. Christian women do not practice Christianity. Christian women don't practice Christianity. They're contentious women, and they tell other men, based on not the Bible, based on not the law, based on their own personal feeling, and I'll get to that, own personal feeling, because it's icky. Oh, well, when I was younger, I made bad decisions, so all young women should be able to make their own decisions. What the fuck are you talking about? See, I don't even believe all this shit. I believe in a patriarchy. I believe women have a choice on who they marry, but the people around them are supposed to help them get matched. Rebecca is the first woman that we see getting married, is asked, well, is this what you want? She isn't told. Women have a choice. It's always been voluntary. It's voluntary, but once you commit, you have to fucking do the duties and responsibilities of what you have accepted. Otherwise, you're being a hypocrite, doing a bad job, and you are an oath breaker. We keep our oaths here in the faith. I don't believe in the vows of marriage. Those are already oaths underlined and duties in the Bible. I don't have to say that. But I agree with the concept. Till death do you part. For richer or for poor. For sickness or in health. To have and to hold. That's sexual. Not to have their shit and hold their purse. No one fucking... I'll hold my sex away. I'll divorce him when he doesn't have money. When things are bad, if he doesn't give me peace, he doesn't add to my peace, I'm not happy, which is a temporary, happiness is a temporary place of emotion. Fulfillment, satisfaction is what you should be looking for. Oh, I'm not satisfied. Well, do something about it. But regardless, happy, good or for bad, I'm not happy. Divorce. Till death do you part. They don't follow it, Father. And I don't understand why. So that all being said, the underlying, once again, the undergirding of these arguments, which are completely unbiblical against the Christian faith and undermining the nuclear family, the traditional marriage, the traditional roles, and basically society by extent, because society is itself undergirded. The foundation of is families and marriage. Marriage is what is supposed to keep marriage together. It's supposed to what's the word here? Facilitate a family. A marriage is supposed to facilitate the rearing and provision and protection of a family, of children, in the right way. Believer in the Bible, which says read the law to your children when they're laying down for bed and when they wake up and when they're walking by the way, and write it on your fence post and write it on the frame of your door. The law, keep the law every time, just in your mouth. That's the food. That's the bread we're supposed to be eating. Jesus is the living bread. He's the living word. He's the living law. He was perfect by the law because sin is breaking the law, and so he never broke a single law. But people will be like, "Oh, well, the Pharisees here said he didn't clean his hands. That's not in the law. Oh, it says that he picked grain on the Sabbath. That's not in the law. Is picking a fruit off a tree work and breaking the Sabbath? Oh, he made mud on the Sabbath. He's breaking the law. Where does it say not to make mud when he heals the blind man? Where does it say you can't heal on the Sabbath? This is insanity. But this is what people in Christianity accept. They accept the Pharisees' rule in in their Christianity, and so they conflate it with the law. And so then we get things like condemnation of polygyny. Oh, where was he going with that? Yeah, that's where I'm going with it. Condemnation of polygyny, okay, which is itself being borrowed from the infiltrated feminist agenda. Okay, we have softened everything. It's become more effeminate. It's become more nice and hugs and kisses, and it is not held the masculine standard of a male God, the Father, and the male God, Jesus, who is the same God. Jesus is God. God is Jesus, just as God is the Holy Spirit, but the Father is the top there, because anyway, obviously the Father, God, the Holy Spirit is his spirit, and Jesus is him coming down to earth. I've lost my place here, getting mad about discussing what the nature of God. What was I discussing?
God's law and the importance of it, and
the feminized agenda. The feminized agenda infiltrating the church and creating doctrines that are contradictory to the actual written word. The written word is allowing polygyny. Exodus 21:10. If he takes another wife, he shall not diminish the food, clothing, or marital rights, or marital duty, or conjugal rights, or sexual rights of the first wife. So he's still feeding, after getting another wife, a second wife, or an additional wife of whatever number, he still has to feed, clothe, and have sex with the previous wife. As in not divorce, as in simultaneous multiple wives at the same time. Exodus 21:10. Now, the arguments against it, just for also more context, God personally identifies as a bigamist. Off the top of my head, Ezekiel 23, Jeremiah 3:8-10, Jeremiah 31, verse 31-33. And I believe there's another reference to this in Jeremiah 33, and I need to check on that, but that's another one, okay? Where God personally, not someone else making a story, the word of God comes to Ezekiel. God spoke to Jeremiah, okay? He personally is identifying as a polygamist. Polygynist, that is a man with multiple wives, to be specific, because polygamy is just multiple marriage. This presents a large issue for any argument that I am about to present that would try to contradict that the Bible does not allow polygyny. If the law allows it, that is, God explicitly allows it. God doesn't allow any sin in his law. He punishes sin in the law. Okay? He punishes murder, he punishes rape, he punishes lying, he punishes kidnapping, he punishes slavery, that is chattel kidnapping slavery, not servitude, which is voluntary in the Hebraic system, though some may think that it's about slaves. That has to do with the English uh, translation. Like, if you were in that time, if you worked for somebody, you'd say you worked at Auntie Anne's Pretzels in the mall. You're a slave to Auntie Anne's. You're Auntie Anne's slave. Now that sounds very harsh, but that's the word uses, and it's been changed and modified over time. All slavery is voluntary, except for in the case of people who have to pay damages and don't have the ability to pay. They've stole or destroyed something or hurt someone and they don't have the ability to pay, or they're captives of war. In all cases, whether voluntary, penal, 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 penal punishment, or um, prisoners of war, all prisoners were to be released in 7 years or at the discretion of the master. Now, going back to what God punishes in his law: incest, bestiality, everything he punishes, but he allows explicitly polygyny. So it can't be sin. He says, continue on, and this is the right way to do it. There is no right way to murder. There is no right way to steal. There is no right way to kidnap someone. Okay? And so on. So, what do we have as an argument against this? If God establishes it and God identifies as one, oh, well, that's just allegory. Allegory, figurative, metaphorical, literal. Would God ever compare himself to a sinner doing sin, going against his own plan, doing something that's contrary to his own will? Someone once said, well, Jesus compared himself to a thief in the night. He compared himself to a thief in the night who is coming to take a life, not stealing. He comes like a thief in the night. He is not saying, I'm a thief stealing shit. That's the closest you could get to it. He's not calling himself, it's not a long allegory of him explaining how he's stealing from everyone and God's a thief. He made a general colloquial statement that would be understood by the cultural standards of the time and would be understood as not comparing himself to a sinner by anyone who reads it with the intent of reading it correctly, not to argue against me. Now, moving forward to what their arguments are. The arguments come something like, oh, well, here in Timothy and here in Titus, and it says, well, the bishop, a position, specific position, is to be the husband of one wife. Okay, let's go through how all of these cannot be what people insist, an anti-polygamist or a monogamy-only doctrine being taught here. First off, not only can Paul not change the law according to Deuteronomy 4:2, 12:32, as well as all of Deuteronomy 13, not only does Paul say that he believes everything in the law and the prophets, Acts 24:14, and follows it, and shows that he is obedient to God's law in Acts 21, he himself is saying that he's not teaching against God's law in Acts 21 when the false witnesses, okay, claim that he's teaching against the law. Whoa, so he's not teaching against the law, and Paul cannot teach against the law and still be a prophet of God and still be an apostle of Jesus, because he's breaking and going directly against the law, which would be a false prophet. So not only can Paul not change it, not only is bishop a particular position, but the word translated as one is the Greek word mias, M-I-A-S. And other than these 2 or 3 occurrences where Paul is writing and it's all basically the same sentence, just reprinted and sent to other different people. In every other occurrence mias occurs, it's translated as first, because that's the proper translation. So when you read it in context, it says that he should be the husband of quote unquote one wife, because he should have his house in order. Because how can he leave if he doesn't have his house in order? Just because you have one wife, does that mean that you have your house in order? Just logically speaking here. No. I know many men that don't have their house in order, that let their wives have OnlyFans and do porn. I don't know them personally, because that's an absolute abomination, and I don't associate with that type of thing. Though I would talk and treat a person just as humanely, it is an abomination and you're a cuck. That being said, that doesn't mean that that person has their house in order. It's obviously a false assumption. What would make sense, though, is if they're married to their first wife. They haven't been divorced. They haven't divorced someone, because they have their house in order. That makes considerable more sense and is consistent with the biblical standard. So that's that it's ironic that people can't make that interpretation, but that's funny. So, but what's even more ironic is when people will quote, "Is everything all right with the stream?" Okay, people will quote 1 Corinthians 7, and which discusses, because there's sexual immorality, everyone should have their own husband and their own wife. Sometimes it says one. There is no word for one there either, by the way, guys. And the husband should do his marital duty for his wife, and likewise the wife should do the marital duty of the husband. Marital duty. Does that sound familiar? That's direct quotation from Exodus 21:10, which allows polygyny, marital duty. Marital duty in the sense of directly meaning sex, by the way. That's where he's getting it from. So if you're getting it directly from Exodus 21, and he's discussing having your own husband and your own wife, could it be that he's not discussing polygyny or anti-polygyny or limitation of to monogamy, but rather he's correcting the gentleman or the man in 1 Corinthians 5, because 1 Corinthians is one fucking letter. So 2 chapters earlier, which there's no chapters when he wrote the letter, it was just a letter, he discusses a man who is sleeping with his father's wife. Disgusting. Abomination. Give that man up to God, Paul says. And so you should, because there is so much sexual immorality, you should have your own husband and your own wife, not your father's or someone else's. Does that mean that a woman who is simultaneously married to the same man doesn't have her own husband? No, that's her own. Each of those women have their own relationship with that man, okay? And biblically allowed. It's when you break the bond of another marriage. That's adultery. We're discussing adultery. The definition of adultery in Exodus 20:18, okay, it says, do not commit adultery. Where's the definition? I guess you'll have to look at the words. The word adultery is the word in Hebrew, na'af, which means woman breaking wedlock. Woman breaking wedlock. That's because a man is allowed to make multiple marriages, as in polygyny, as is allowed in the subsequent chapter. So either Moses and God are in agreement, or as Moses says, this is what God says, and he continues on, and then God is contradicting God, or adultery only refers to the marital status of a woman having sex with a man that isn't her husband. Case in point, Deuteronomy 2:22. Let me see here if I can write it. If I start a poll. I think I got it right here in my notes that I should have them printed out at this point. They're so good. Okay, it's Deuteronomy 2:22, Leviticus 18:20, and Leviticus 20:10. Okay, which says a woman who has sex with another man that isn't her husband is committing adultery, and both of them will be stoned as adulterers. Okay? That's what breaking wedlock. There is never a parallel statute where it says, well, a man who has sex with, who's married, has sex with a woman that's not married, you stone them both to death. No, that's not in the law. Because a married man who has sex with an unmarried woman must marry them. That's what the law says. So that means, ultimately, that the Bible is consistent, and people who are arguing against polygyny are arguing from the undergirded idea, the underlying infiltrated feminist agenda, which says, oh, young women shouldn't get married. Why shouldn't young women get married? Because then they won't be able to go in the workforce to be feminists. The whole point that early feminists were making were, we cannot give the option to women to be stay-at-home mothers, because if given that choice, most women would choose it, which is still the case. Most women still want to be stay-at-home mothers. Even with all the feminist infiltration. So it's like God created us to have a certain, okay, all right. The feminist agenda doesn't want women to get married because they won't be working. They won't be working peons, because this is all fucking the subversion of the patriarchy, which is basically the subversion of Christianity, which in itself then is Satanism. You cannot be a feminist and a Christian at the same time, because then you are breaking the rule. You're literally contradicting the Bible at all times. Men have authority over women? How dare you? Well, that's literally what the Old and the New Testament is saying. Oh, men lead and women stay silent? That's a misogyny. Well, that's literally what the New Testament is saying. So you can't be a feminist and you can't be a Christian at the same time. And that's something that I'll be hammering home every week we talk about this. So anything that I need to say to conclude before we go on, baby? About polygyny that I missed? Any other arguments that people say? Oh, they'll talk about divorce. They'll talk about divorce, and they'll discuss Matthew 19, if I'm not mistaken, which Jesus discusses divorce. The question is, can a man put his wife away for any reason? And Jesus is emphatically no. This is not the way it was in the beginning. That is, divorcing your wife for any reason. And if you divorce your wife for anything but sexual immorality, you are causing her to commit adultery, because she should be still married. Okay? And if you just put her away and not give her a certificate of divorce for the proper reason, then you are breaking the law. And that's what it's always about. Jesus is constantly talking about the law. The law in Deuteronomy 24, in verse 1 through 4, discusses that a man, if he finds some uncleanness in his wife, may divorce his wife. He writes her a certificate of divorce, and she may go and marry again, and she is not bound, and it's not adultery. Okay? So is Jesus against the law? Or is there something that people who are trying to read the New Testament that are ignorant of the law not understand? There is the school of Shammai at the time, which is saying, no, you shouldn't be doing that. And you've got the Pharisees that are what we call serial monogamous. They would jump from woman to woman, divorce from divorce, uh, not providing for that. Like that's not only is that marriage to preserve the rights of women, it's there to also facilitate the family and ensure that there is a contract which your neighbors and your community can enforce. Because the community, once again, why I said at the beginning of every video, we're starting to start a community, is because that is who is supposed to hold you accountable, but also hold you up when you are destitute. Do not let your brother be destitute. But people will just give money to people they don't know. But what about people in your own church that may be living in a car, which is fine. I've done it. Maybe living not a great life and need help. You don't know because you live in a diaspora and you don't, and most men will not ask for help. And okay, divorce is allowed and instituted by God. It's in a multi-chapter long, chapter after chapter after chapter of God's law being restated by Moses. This is what God said, and God said this, and God said thusly. This isn't Moses's law. So when it says Moses allowed this because of your hardening of hearts, we have to look at the context and be like, did Moses make up his own law? Or is he discussing specifically the question that's being asked? Can you put away your wife for any reason? Notice that that's missing the divorce there. But you look at Matthew 19 and you look at the parallel Matthew 5, 31, 32, which we'll get in a second. You see that it's consistent with the Deuteronomy 24 law statute of divorce. There's no argument. There's no argument that you could possibly make other than insisting on bad interpretation that's been passed down to you. Divorce is instituted by God himself, and God himself is speaking on it in Matthew 19 because Jesus is God. So you better pay attention when he says not a jot or a tittle of the law will pass away in Matthew 5:17. 5:7. 5:18? 19? Regardless, Matthew 5. From Matthew 5:17 to 5:21 is that discussion. So then we have another argument now that we're talking about Matthew 5. It says, oh, if you look at a woman and lust at another woman, you commit adultery. But we just saw adultery is a woman who breaks wedlock. So if you just look at any woman, how can that be and lust after her, which is to covet her, right? Which the commandment says, do not covet your neighbor's wife. Covet, lust, same fucking word, by the way. You're committing adultery? Wouldn't that just be like, maybe like, if she's not married, wouldn't that be like maybe promiscuous sex at most? Oh, I see what the issue is because the word there in Matthew 5, 28, 29, 30, the word woman is gyneca. And in Matthew 5, 31 and 32, where it says wife each time, it's the same word, gyneca, because it's Strong's 1138, I think, or 58. And it's means specially wife. So in the same chapter, the same word is translated as wife, but all of a sudden, in this particular verse, it's woman. If you just covet, that it's want any woman, you're committing adultery. See how that's an effeminate, wrong, erroneous assumption, maybe put into place by some castrated monk or Gnostic? Wanting any woman? What the fuck are you talking about? God made women for men. He finds them beautiful. He's like, wow, this woman is beautiful. It says it all the time. And, oh, wow, she's beautiful. He just committed adultery. I guess when he says, oh, wow, Rebecca, you're beautiful. Oh, adultery. She's not married yet. Oh, she's beautiful. She'll be a good match for this man. When Isaac sees Rebecca and he says, I want this. He's committed adultery. He's not even married yet. He's about to be married to her. He's committing adultery with the woman he's about to marry in his own mind. How does that make any sense? That's because people are ignorant of the law, and that's what Peter warns about in 2 Peter 3. That people who are ignorant of the law or mentally unstable will twist the scriptures to mean what they want it to mean. And they're making the error of the lawless or error of lawlessness. That's to be without the law, because the law is what dictates morality. So you can't say that an age gap is immoral because there's nothing immoral about it in the law. There are tons of age gap marriages in the Bible. You can't say polygyny is immoral because polygyny is literally explicitly allowed by God in the law, Exodus 21:10. And ergo, when we see all these issues of arguments against polygyny or age different, no one's even using the Bible for age difference. They'll just be like, oh, well, I just find it icky. So just polygyny. They're saying that the Bible contradicts itself, that Jesus, who is God, contradicts God. Ergo, God contradicts God. God changes, even though he's the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, today, yesterday, and forever. So what are you actually saying other than what the Bible is saying is untrue? So a Christian is arguing with me that the Bible is untrue, that Jesus is a false prophet, that Paul's a false prophet, and they both teach against the law and contradict God, even though Jesus says in John 7:16 that I don't teach my own doctrine, I teach my Father's. I don't speak my own words, I speak my Father's. And Paul says, I agree with everything in the law and the prophets and I am obedient to it. Acts 24:14. And he shows his obedience in Acts 21 when he goes and shaves the heads, goes with the men who are dedicating themselves by shaving their heads of the temple. And the council says, and so everyone will know that you live in obedience to the law. And Paul does it. So this is all, like I said, undergirded by feminist agenda, which is against the Bible ultimately, and is Satanism ultimately. And this is only part of the feminization of the faith. Is he what I went there? The feminization of the faith is not just feminism beginning in the 80s or the 60s or the 70s or really the 80s. It's just like beginning in the 50s and 60s. Not everybody fucking believe that. Like a couple of fucking hippies who are fucking strung out all the fucking time, living like terrible fucking lives, hedonistic lives that no one wants their children to live. And then all of a sudden now we have a wave of it in the 80s as media began to take over and media became to be more influential in people's lives. It went from just the radio and a couple of shows on TV to fucking hundreds of channels on TV to a big MTV and rock stars being more and more political and, oh, this is how we look at people. Most people in the 70s, 50s, and 60s were still living in nuclear families and normal traditional marriages and had a fucking great go at it. Now we don't have that go. And people are just making it worse with this feminist bullshit that takes away all accountability from women. Oh, well, of course a woman can make any decision and have her own autonomy, except when it comes to a man. That gives me the ick. And therefore, a woman doesn't have to be accountable for picking a man that's bad, or picking a man that's her age and that's bad either. She doesn't have to be accountable for anything. She's just a woman being constantly manipulated by the world and dominated by the patriarchy that doesn't fucking exist, that should exist. The patriarchy which says that fathers raise their daughters and husbands protect their wives, and wives appreciate their husbands and submit to them because that's what they do for them, and daughters submit and appreciate their fathers because that's what they do for them. You know, men that created all of fucking society, that are the ones that keep it running today, through all infrastructure jobs are men dominated. All structural engineering things that we need to fucking live is dominated by men. Not because women can't fucking do it, because women don't want to do it. They want jobs in fucking air-conditioned fucking offices. Oh, you mean what they are already doing in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 40s and 20s? They're already working in offices? You mean that you actually put women in the workforce to do the same thing that they fucking did before, to get fucking degrees that they don't fucking use, which that only 10 or 15% of graduates are actually getting a job in the field that they graduate a degree in? And so women are now carrying debt, working the same jobs that they already fucking worked, that they didn't need to fight for, and now you give them the right to vote, but they can't pick who they fuck? They can't pick who they have a relationship in? You halved all pay by doubling the entire workforce, and what did you get? Nothing. You got high divorce. You got the destruction of the nuclear family. You got 40% of all children being born to a single parent household, but among minorities, it's 70% and 56%, respectively, among blacks and Latinos. Oh, does that matter? It's getting higher among the white the population too. Is single motherhood going to be a positive move forward for society, or should we be going back to the Bible and having biblical relationships that are biblically sound and biblically founded before people hop into them and fuck and have children that they can't raise, and then create more poverty? If you don't want to live in poverty, graduate high school, get married before you have children, and get a fucking job. That will guarantee you almost entirely that you won't be in poverty. You want to have a marriage that lasts? Be an active Christian. Be an active Christian. Have a minimum 4-year age gap, and follow the Bible. There was one more. Active Christian. I forget. It was maybe just those two factors. There was one more factor that I can't recall. Oh, marry young. There it is. Marry young, 4 years age gap, active Christians. And that will almost guarantee you that you'll never divorce. So I just guaranteed to you not being in poverty, almost 90. I can't give you 100% guarantee. That's not how it fucking works. But it's like 98%. And a high chance, like 80%, 78%, possibly even more, because there's a small population. I mean, relatively, because thousands and tens of thousands of people is still relatively small compared to hundreds of thousands. How many people can you fucking possibly find that have been married that long in the modern era? But I can basically guarantee you don't get divorced if you're an active Christian, if you marry young and you have a small age gap, a minimum of 4 years age gap. So, normal marriage, people will be like, well, normal people get married, and it's usually this many years apart. They're usually about the same age. Yeah, well, normal people are getting fucking divorced at a rate of 50% more if you fucking take out the population of active Christians. If you take out active Christians, it jets up to like 60, 70, 80%. And guess who's doing all the divorcing? Despite the marriage contract being given to women by men, and despite the certificate of divorce given to women by men, women are divorcing men today at a rate of 80%, 98% in territories like the greater Houston area. 98% of divorces being initiated by women. That's in Christian Texas. That is the issue here. Feminist ideals have absolutely infiltrated the church, and the feminization of men not being able to have any kind of control or authority in their own life, where they essentially have responsibility but no authority, which is an actual fucking slave, and they have no authority to say, oh, don't dress like that, don't go out like that, don't hang out with these people, don't treat me like this way, treat me like this, please. They can't say that because boundaries is toxic masculinity and controlling. Hell, men's preferences are fucking demonized. How can you, like younger women? You like younger women? You pizzaphile? You like Peterphile? You like younger women? All men across all ages, getting into 50s, 60s, 70s, like women that are between the ages of 18 and 21. When shown pictures of women with no age, most men pick 16-year-old women. Okay? When the age is shown, the brain, because their brain was attached to electrodes, they decided, she's how old? No, I will not say that she's as attractive anymore. Okay? Their choices change because men are not pedophiles. And because 16 is allowed in some states, in fact, all of the UK, it's allowed, the age of consent is 16. They aren't pedophiles there either. The problem is the society, which has made it so leisurely and allows women to live in extended, not just women, all people, extended adolescence lives. So, of course, I wouldn't recommend a chick who's like, oh, I'm still playing with dolls and shit, who is not fucking mature. But by the law standard, other than it gives you the ick, you can't fucking say it's immoral because, and oh, by the way, since I'm always defining words, a pedophile is a person who likes a prepubescent teen, prepubescent adolescent. Once you get into the teens and you have the menstruation, it becomes an adult. That's for all of history. Should they immediately have sex? Should they immediately get married? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the patriarchy, the father should be there, and she should be vetting the men and looking at the possible suitors and making sure that this is an appropriate relationship. If he decides that it's an older man, then that's up to him. That's his prerogative. You can't say it's immoral. You can't say it's immoral that if a woman picks an older man for herself and it's within legal age. But that's what it's come down to, because it's the feminization. It's about shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. There's no biblical passage. There's no law you could state. You could just say, well, I just think it's icky. And that is the lie from the garden. The snake in the garden says you'll know good from evil and you'll be like God. So people have decided to be their own personal fucking gods. That's what it is every time. It's always a secular person, and if it's not a secular person, it's a feminist, infiltrated Christian woman or man, for that matter, feminist man who is not really a Christian, as we already established, who believes the contradictory concepts of the Bible and uphold those contradictory concepts of the Bible, making them Antichrist. That's the spirit of Antichrist. So all this, then that makes you that immediately they'll call people, oh, you're a pedophile. You're a pizzaphile now because you said that 18-year-old is all right for him to date a 30-year-old. I posted a meme, which I might put on the cover here maybe for the first time of the live stream, which it has this, of course, ugly old blue-haired feminist saying, oh, you're a pedophile for liking 18-year-olds. You're supposed to run through used up 30-year-olds and you will like it. You know what I'm saying? That's what, oh, you like younger women? Why don't you like older used up women that lived in the streets, that lived their lives in the streets, fucking tons and tons of men? Why don't you like those? Most men, considering age, will like women between 18 and 21. Because once you get into that 21, 20, 19, 23, you start getting into the prime peak of what is considered beautiful for most women. Some women may be a little bit more beautiful earlier, very, very few, maybe like 2%. And some women will not ever peak at all. That's unfortunate. Some women are ugly. Some women are average. Some women are beautiful. Some men are beautiful. Some men are average. Some men are ugly. That's the fucking way that it is. But when a person is considering to be in a marriage and get in a relationship, and they're thinking about it logically, then they want to leverage what they have as their peak against getting the most of what they want. Most women wait until 30 to want a man who makes six figures and will only sleep with her despite making six figures and accept that she has 2 children from another man. So you didn't get that man when you were 21 and the peak of your beauty, but now you want a man to accept you at 30 with 2 children. What the fuck is going on? Because fuck, right? Because men are the bottom. Men are not considered. Their preferences are condemned. Their feelings are condemned. Their thoughts are condemned. Their existence as men is condemned. You're part of the patriarchy. The patriarchy that's supposed to protect the woman and the family. Oh, you mean oligarchy that is in place right now? Where few very powerful men are in charge? Oh, you mean the same thing that you're practicing with your hypergamy, which 80% of women are chasing the top 20% of men, and top 20% of men are having almost all the sex, very few in between, and many at the bottom. 30% of men under 30 are fucking virgins. Men are describing their 20s as more lonely, fucking sexless, fucking no friends, no success, no attention. More and more men are reporting this because society shits on men and women don't even fucking see them. They're invisible. I pity my brothers who are invisible to women. Okay? I pity them. And there's a way, my brothers. If you want to be coached, just DM me. There's a way, my brothers. Okay? There are many ways, in fact. Obviously, I'm promoting the way of the Bible, but you have to make your own path, ladies and gentlemen. You have to make your own path. And if you want to choose other gods, then that's your prerogative. But me and my house will serve Yah. Not the feminist agenda. Not given to shame cults. Not given to any type of feminism bullshit. Not given to, and I say shame cult not as in I'm opposed to shame. Shame must come with honor. But I don't honor feminist, Satanists, and shit that is not biblically based. I don't give a fuck about the Christians that are anti-polygamists. They're literally arguing against their own Bible. That makes them anti-Christ, by the way. I pity them too. There are choices to be made, brothers and sisters. Beloved. and you have a chance to make what is wrong right while you're still alive. You don't fucking wait. You don't say, oh, well, when society changes, when this church decides to become more masculine, no, you fucking go do it. And if it's alone, it's alone. But I promise you, there are other people out there doing it. There are tons of women that are interested in polygyny with me. There are a ton of people that are fine with age gap. Even here in the United States, where people are like, oh, the United States, you can't fucking, these women here. No, even here in the United States. Though there are a lot of women here in the United States that will be, why are you talking to a girl that's 19? Well, I didn't know that you were 19 when I fucking started talking to you, but what is the fucking problem with it? You've been flirting and talking and texting me out of fucking crazy, nonstop, and now you have a problem with it? That's the demon, these ideas that reside in people's mind. That's a daemon. That's a Greek philosophy term. Demon is derived from these ideas. This is the doctrine of demons. To think that we've progressed past the Bible, we've progressed past society because we can now have an extended adolescence. Your time to have children is just as limited as it's always been from the very fucking beginning. You don't get extra years. Most people can't afford in vitro or IVF treatments. Most people aren't healthy and unable to have children after 40. Don't tell people to wait. Don't listen to this feminist bullshit. All this stuff I've been talking on my channel, this feminized agenda of Christianity, women telling women to wait later in life, where the average marriage for a woman now is 30. That's what men are getting in marriage, a 30-year-old? Guys, this is not positive movement. This is negative movement. This is moving away from the Bible. And I pray that people understand and hear what I'm having to say. Hey, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Drop a like, drop a comment if you're watching. I pray that people understand that the Bible means what it says and start reading the Bible and really mean it, like believe it. There is so much implicit rejection of the Bible among Christians today. And it's, I weep for them. It's so wrong. It's so wrong. I am both upset beyond measure and sad at the same time. Anyway, I appreciate everyone sticking around. Before I end, any thoughts to add to what I said there, the last subject, feminization or polygyny? I kind of went right into it.
No, not really.
Okay, what are your thoughts on polygyny?
What specifically? I mean, we both agree on everything that you've said.
Yes, we both agree, but I mean, more of like, don't let me coach you. Let you give your own testimony, what you think about polygyny on the stream, so people don't think that I'm forcing you. It's always funny because people are like, "Oh, you forcing your wife to?" You're the one that came up with this. When we were reading the law, you're like, "Would you like a sister wife? Like, should we practice polygyny?" And I'm like, "Well, God allows it, but I don't know. I love you. I love being with just you. I mean, I'm attracted to women. Don't get me wrong. But I had to think about it for a long time. You know what I mean? Because I was a zealous monogamist. So what are your thoughts on polygyny? You're like, obviously they're positive, but I want you to kind of like express that yourself without me coaching you into it. You know what I'm saying? Because people will be like, oh, he's coaching her. He's telling her what to say. You know what I mean? In your own words, what do you think about polygyny?
Well, first off, definitely it's biblical. Want to get that out of the way. It's definitely biblical.
Speak up with your diaphragm.
And it is a great option for every woman to have access to marriage because there are a lot of single women out there. I was raised in a single woman household,
Mm.
and I've seen the disaster that it can cause within a woman's life and her bringing her children down. And
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
and it's an option. If society always tells women, oh, it's only monogamy, that you should be focused on. I mean, yes, women are biologically monogamous, they should be with one man.
Women are monogamous, right?
But yeah, biologically monogamous, they're hard we are hardwired to be with one man.
Right.
But a lot of women are being lied to, just like with the women, like Eve in the garden with the serpent.
It's feminism. It's the egalitarian idea that men and women are exactly the same.
Yes, which is a lie that, like, the serpent told Eve.
Yeah.
He told Eve basically, like, oh, you are above your husband. You can make the decisions for your relationship. You can be like a god. You can decide what is good, what is evil.
Mm.
And that is what feminism is doing. It's
Right.
just basically serpent
Preaching.
talk.
Fuck. I should be the one commenting on the fucking in the chat right now. Like what?
But it's basically serpent talk, and a lot of
Serpent talk. Fuck you.
it's a lot of women.
Hell yeah, it is serpent talk.
Yeah, a lot of women just are listening to it, and it's what I usually say is, like, women are tend to listen to devils and demons, and they don't have self-awareness or spiritual self-awareness.
Because they're always in their feelings.
Yes.
And they're not thinking about it. They don't have a duty, a code. They don't have that discipline. Men have to have that for certain reasons, but not necessarily. Most men don't have that code of the Bible, but that's what they're programmed. They're programmed to have a code, but women are fluid to survive. If people believe in evolutionary or because that's how they're created, to be fluid so that they can survive. And they're socially malleable, as in their opinions are usually molded by society. Not that it should be that way if they just practice what the Bible says, mental fortitude. Even if you think something, it's still a sin. So that's a psychic mental practice. It's more than just external. It's internal and external. It's not just something we think, it's something we do, and we don't do certain things, and so we don't even think those things, and we think them, we say that's wrong. Stop thinking that. That's why people can have longer relationships when they're Christian. I'm sorry, I just wanted to, because that's what a great point. Continue.
I agree with your point as well.
Thank you. We are one, baby. I love you.
It's very sad because, a lot of women are, left alone, they're childless, they're husbandless, or they have children and they're just husbandless. And, polygyny is a beneficial way for every woman to have access to a husband.
Every woman have a husband.
Yeah.
Because already, just just to give context to what you're saying, the population is not even men and women. There are more women than men. And not all men are worth marrying. Not all men are straight. Not all men are Christian. Not all men even want to be married in the first place. Not all men even have a working dick. Not all men are attractive enough to women to even be considered. They're invisible. The dude with no legs on the sidewalk that's a homeless person that you don't even see as a possible person that you could be with, that's a fucking like 1 on the sexual market scale. There are tons of men like that. And so hypergamy needs to be tempered with polygyny, and as well as realistic evaluation, self-evaluation, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm 30-year-old, like I said, a 30-year-old with 2 kids from 2 different fathers. Yeah. And I've never been married, and I've been out in these streets, but I need a man that makes $100,000 because that's what's necessary to provide for me and my family, and I don't want kids. Yeah. Like, your sexual market value Your value to what you could add to a man is a negative. You're taking away from a man's life. You're taking away from a man to have a child. If he's a polygamist and he has enough to provide for you and your children, that becomes up to the prerogative of that man. Well, am I willing to, since I have so many resources, am I willing to also provide for this woman who has no covering? I'll give her a covering, but then that man's looked at as creepy in society. And will that woman even give the rights and duties to that man anyway? Or will it just be sex? So even for a man who's polygamous, these women with children is still not going to make most women who are single mothers more attractive. But it will give the opportunity for women who are of good ilk and good character to marry men that are capable of providing, protecting, and also have good character. Because there's not a lot of that. That's why there's always stories about women being a long-time side piece to a man who's already married, and they know. That's why all these wives and basketball wives, they know that their men are sleeping with other women on the road. They could go with them. They could go with them and make sure that they accompany them and spend time with them, and they empty their balls. But they know what's up. They want the lifestyle. They get the millions of dollars and the hundreds of $1,000s with the big homes and the multiple cars and do whatever the fuck you want at home because you don't even have to work. Oh, I think that's creepy, bitch. But we allow that though, right? That's okay. That's allowed. Why isn't my... I don't understand why I can't see live chat. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm looking at the live chat now. What are we talking about here? Why can't I chat also? Anyway, thank you guys for being in the chat. Caramel waifu. What was I just saying? I lost myself there.
You were talking about basketball wives.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's fucking creepy. But is there anything immoral about it? No. You know what I'm saying? I don't fucking talk shit about them. They know their place and they know their role. I get mad when they're like, "Oh, he cheated on me," or he's never home. You can fucking travel with them all year round. Travel all different places. You don't. Okay? Same thing with NFL wives and all this other fucking shit. But women don't have to be accountable. Women don't get held to a standard. Feminism literally says, "Oh, be contentious and have your own standard and have it changed because fuck men. I'll pick a bear over a man. I'll pick a bear who fucking literally almost No one's been around a bear, dude. Bears kill fucking people. Try to fucking fight a bear. Fuck, dude. What the fuck? Go watch the movie Revenant. Go look up the guy who got his face ripped off because he's just by bears. He didn't attack a bear. He's just in the fucking forest. Men do not attack women at that number. Men do not attack. Well, there's more attacks of women than there are bears. There's less interactions with women than bears. So per capita, there's way more fucking attacks by bears. If you see a bear, you should be fucking afraid. They eat people alive. They grab them, they ragdoll you, you get knocked out, they eat you, and you wake up still being eaten by that fucking bear because they eat you while you're fucking alive. You're lucky if they kill you. Well, I'll pick a bear because a man might misgender me. A man might fucking mansplain something to me a man might mansplain something to me in the forest. Well, you see, you want to be going toward the direction where moss grows on the rocks. Mansplaining! What the fuck are we talking about? That you would rather a man would fucking help you towards civilization. This isn't a fucking horror movie. Why are you in the woods by yourself anyway? But if you were, you would not pick a bear. Every time will fucking kill you. Because that's what happens. Say every time, 10 out of 10, and 10 out of 10 the bear attacks you. 10 out of 10 the man attacks you, 10 out of 10 the bear attacks you. You can beat a man. Learn some jiu-jitsu. Learn some fucking wrestling. Carry a fucking knife. You can beat a man. Wait until you can fucking gouge out the eyes, bite off the dick, grab at the throat. There are ways you cannot do that to a bear. You cannot do that to a bear. A bear will treat you like a baby and shred you, literally rip you in half. Literally rip your fucking limbs off. Literally peel your face from your fucking skull and fucking eat you alive. That's what will happen. The likelihood that that will happen with a man that attacks you is slim to fucking none. A man is not capable of ripping off your limb. A man is not capable of peeling your skin back from your skull with his hands. This is just the absolute ridiculousness of feminism being pushed because it's not fucking true. It's not fucking real. It's not even close to true. Anybody watching, please drop a like, support. We're about to wrap up here. But feminism is the rejection of the Bible, rejection of reality, and the imposing of a utopia, quote unquote, that they think is possible through female rule. Pop quiz, hotshot. What does utopia mean? It means nowhere. Because there's no such fucking thing. There's no perfect society. The only perfect being is Jesus Christ. And the only perfect entity in anywhere is God. So people trying to think that we can go more perfect by going directly against the Bible that has literally been the foundation of society, marriage and the nuclear family being the foundation of civilization, and let's just flip it on its head. It's ridiculous. It's the opposite of truth. The Bible is truth. God's word is true. Jesus Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, that's his Hebrew real name, is the truth. And I ask and hope that you will guide yourself by the word, temper your decisions by the word, and go forth and believe. And I ask you, and as I always say, stay up, stay vigilant, stay locked and loaded. Shalom, shalom. Peace and love y'all. Thank you for staying all the way through. Continue to watch, support, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Peace in.